So we're going to go through some theory, then in that tray we'll line it with a bit of paper, and we will mimic fields and gardens and then do the practice of different models, different systems, what rotations you can have, where you put your trees, where the contours are, how to work with contours, how to get water to spread equally, what influences getting carbon into soil. Three things we're going to cover. Getting carbon into soil, understanding what puts it into the sky so we stop doing that, and understanding, if we can, and understanding what gets it to stay in the soil, and that's what we start doing. So there's three different things. Somebody fire a few at me.
Soil compaction.
Yes. Do you know why? I've mentioned it today.
Loss of habitat for the microbes that create that. Yeah.
You've destroyed. It's more specific than that. You have destroyed the habitat that they very roughly, and this is a loose distinction, in all population models you have R strategists, and they breed like buggery, have loads of offspring, and they don't look after their offspring, and they hope one or two survive. And you have K strategists who have one or two offspring and really nurture and sometimes bring them up till they're over 18 years old when they should have left. But you know, then it's your survival strategy is to tend and nurture one or two. Now, in the soil biology, very roughly, the R strategists are going to suddenly mad proliferation, and they're the guys who put the carbon in the sky. They are opportunists. K strategists tend to be the arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi and a lot of different species of bacteria as well, whereas the opportunist bacteria, the actinomycetes and all these other chaps, they're just going to be munching away, whacking your soil carbon in the sky. When you compact, you have destroyed the habitat that the K strategists have created for themselves, or that the process has created that is ideal for the K strategists. You will only have opportunities. So compaction.
So it's like a fractal of what's happening on a global scale almost.
So basically, that's the factor, is compaction. The practice is raised beds. Or even if they're long ones like that, you don't walk. Minimum. Times for mob grazing, yes, you get your mob on and off quickly. So mob grazing, one of the reasons it works is because your cows aren't hanging around. And I've gone completely guilty with Harry's field, but Harry's moving on. Horses are the worst. And great barbed wire fencing, keeping your livestock in the same place. Or walking on your raised beds. Every footstep for me, I notice. And the potatoes are the one time you've almost got to walk on slightly, because that's when you're doing the damage anyway. Another soil carbon influencing factor. Name them, label them. Yes, that's what gets it in.
Erosion, soil erosion.
Soil erosion is a feedback loop, so the losing the carbon causes erosion, and erosion causes carbon loss to increase. Yeah, vicious cycle.
Digging over, aerating soil.
Digging over, yes, getting the air in. Yeah.
Letting it
we'll
go.
Come back to photosynthesis more. But yeah, carry on.
Letting it go bare,
yeah.
and then getting loads of water in it.
Yeah.
Because then it, the optimist.
Yes. The K strategists will die off, and the strike of a raindrop is causing erosion. That first strike. So always keep a cover, because of that first strike that does a little chemical reaction.
Is that only when it's been bare and dry?
No, bare and dry. We've got another one. UV from the sun. You have your UV water filters because UV kills bacteria. So bare soil, UV from the sun. Another one. So bare and dry. Now African soils, bare and dry, bare and dry, bare and dry, then mad rain. Now you've gone from one extreme to the other. Only the tough buggers survive. So if you hit one, and we're going to get this with climate change, we're going to have more extremes. So always, we've listed a dozen little factors there. Always keep armour on your soil, either from a living mulch, don't plough it in, kill it off on the surface.
So really, weeds are nature's own defense.
Yes.
Yeah.
You keep ploughing, you will make your conditions where the weeds will thrive. I've done it. You're probably doing it better because you're getting enough organic matter in to make up for it. If you want to not weed, if you want to give the conditions for weeds, release your soil carbon so only the top buggers can survive. And then the weeds will actually do a whole load of good because you've got those really deep roots, you've got massive root exudates, you've got the really tough buggers that are trying to stop it turning into a desert. And you're desperately trying to turn it into a desert. We're a very forgiving country. So you can get away, they reckon in Britain we have enough, so that people are measuring soil loss, we have enough for possibly another 100 crops at the most, but getting lower and lower with each yield. But in other countries, and as we're going with climate change, that's going out the window. So they've not factored that one in. An important one I should have said at the beginning with climate change is somebody's worked out that if we can increase global agricultural soils by 0.4% carbon, great, we're back to 350 parts per million in the sky by combining all these, and photosynthesis we'll come back to. I've got the same coat, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, it's in the van. Yeah, Fun gave it me. Yeah, but yeah, one of those hunting jackets where you can stalk deer. I've got that. But yeah, photosynthesis. You're photosynthesizing there. That figure is wrong. 0.4% soil carbon increase. So France, you'll see it on Facebook, on Twitter, France is going for that 0.4% soil carbon. They don't fully know what I'm teaching you to do here. Nobody has yet combined all these soil carbon influencing factors. They're doing it with appropriate grazing patterns. They're doing it with some regenerative agriculture, but you've got to be very careful because the term climate smart agriculture has been hijacked by Monsanto and Syngenta, and it now means GM crops grown with increased fertiliser input, and the fertilisers are one of the major means of putting soil carbon back in the sky, which we'll come to as well. So the figure is wrong, the 0.4, because as we get carbon into the soil, all the carbon we've put in the sky from burning fossil fuels and from knackering soil, most of that has been soaked up by the oceans. Carbonic acid. So we've got ocean acidification and oceans warming. Now, as we get it back into the soil, it's going to be released from the oceans at the same rate. We've got to get 2% in globally, at least, in order to hit us being able to survive as a species. Which is great, because up the soil, 2% carbon. This is good, because we are not overpopulated. It's going to take 7 billion people, we've got to hit a critical mass. This is the huge bit. See, conspiracy theorists, we're going to have a cull down to 500 million, so then we're not destroying the earth too fast. It doesn't matter, it's too late, we've gone past the tipping points. 500 million people can't do it. 7 billion people producing their food and their fuel, using all these factors, we can get there. We're not overpopulated. We've got a stupid population growth. If we hit harmony, that will level off. Harmony with the earth, harmony like a cancer and spreading, proper harmony with balance. And the key is soil carbon to get that harmony. That's what the indigenous culture will have, that balance. So yeah, we've got a 2% soil carbon increase globally. That's just a little fact to chuck in. So yeah, more soil carbon. We can hit photosynthesis, we'll go back into that big one, which is the means of getting carbon in. And once you know how to really whack up photosynthesis, you can get more and more carbon in. And then we'll do the applied. Any more? Soil carbon influences. In fact, we've had compaction, we've had water, we've had rainwater hitting, we've had water puddling on the surface, which is water, so it's going back to what you were really hinting at a minute ago. Water puddling on the surface will kill the aerobic bacteria and the fragile ones. You actually eat too much aerobic and you're causing a problem. And a big point we're getting at here is you don't just whack up soil biology, you whack up the appropriate soil biology through getting the right conditions. Even if you don't remember all this, what you've got to remember is get the right conditions for whacking up photosynthesis, not having puddling, not having bare soil, not getting the air in there, not compacting, not having UV hitting your soil. Any more? We've got half a dozen, sorry.
Soluble nutrients.
Yes, nutrients, soluble nutrients. Nitrogen fertiliser. liquid, so which is what you buy. It's produced by the Haber-Bosch process. Feeds the opportunists. You will knacker your soil. Another important one, so that's the if you use too much manure, you will kill off the arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. You have a deep bed of manure, you are killing off the initially, you are feeding actinomycetes and opportunist bacteria. It's very similar. Now if you use just liquid fertiliser, which nobody here will dream of doing anyway, then there's no carbon going in. Just feeding the opportunists, you will lose your carbon. So after the Dust Bowls in America, mass migration from Oklahoma to California, some attempts at rebuilding through swales, which is managing water with swales. We'll model that soon. You know, we're actually using it to our advantage, not our disadvantage. Understand what these are, then we're going to use them to our advantage. The only thing that has propped up our grain belt and our corn belt, which is in America, but it's 4 big crops. Take one of those away, there's international rising. It happened twice. It happened in 2008. It happened in 2011. The Russian grain crisis caused the 2011 spring uprising. A Indian embargo on rice caused the 2008 riots. That's what people riot over, is food prices. I'd rather see them riot over injustice to the earth, but they don't. They riot when they're hungry. We're going there. 4 major crops: corn belt, grain belt, GM soya going from Canada to right down to Latin America, and rice, India, Eurasia. That's any one of those goes, we've had it. We've got all our eggs in one basket. What the grain belt, the Central American grain belt, they're planning to move it north because of climate change. Stupid. Stupid. But anyway, huge, that enterprise. They're going to move, yeah, they're bonkers. How long is that going to last? All that has propped it up from the migration from Oklahoma to California, and read the Grapes of Wrath if you want to know the pain of these migrations and the death toll that comes with these migrations, the social injustice. All that's propped it up is nitrate fertiliser from the 1930s, Haber-Bosch process. Without nitrates on our current system, we could only feed 1.8 billion. Somebody's worked that out, I don't know. But our bodies are made up of 80% artificial nitrogen. Not plants pulling down nitrogen, not lightning from the earth. Burning gas, Haber-Bosch process, same as making explosives, same as making mustard gas, same process, same chemical reaction, but it's plants thrive on it. So we've got to come off nitrate fertilisers, and we've got to feed 7 billion people. What, you know, where are we going? We either do it or we don't. We either have 7 billion people on board, understanding that the secret to living in harmony with soil is soil carbon.